Good morning. Mr. Clerk, you let us know when we are ready to go. Let me just...
It's up to you. And the same with you, Jimmy. I don't know.
Yes, I have.
It's cold. Ms. Wilson, good morning.
Hot air moving.
Everybody, good morning. We will be ready to start momentarily when our clerk tells us that we are cleared for starting the meeting. Okay. So the Arlington County Board is in session. Today is Saturday, June 14th, 2025. I'm Chair Takis Karantonis with my colleagues, Vice Chair Matt DeFerranti, and members Maureen Coffey, Susan Cunningham, and Julius J.D. Spain Sr. Thank you and good morning for joining us today for this meeting in this boardroom. Those who are in person and of course those who are attending remotely through Microsoft Teams. Some members of the public, county staff, or other presenters will also be participating remotely as part of our hybrid meet model. I have a few brief announcements to do before we begin with today's agenda. For those of you who are in-person speakers, the podium height, this is the podium height can be adjusted by using the up and down arrow buttons on the right side. Please speak clearly into the microphone. I should note we have new microphones, but nevertheless that the recommendation is still that. Please speak clearly close and into the microphone so that everyone can hear you. If you are submitting documents as part of your testimony, please hand them to the clerk, Mr. Kushner, with your name and contact information on all documents. And for remote speakers, please keep your microphones muted and your cameras off until you are called to speak. You will need to unmute yourself using *6 if you are on the phone, or by clicking the microphone button on the toolbar if you are using Teams on an app or a browser. We have a Spanish language interpreter available for the public comment portion of this meeting. Can you please introduce yourself? Two Spanish language interpreters. Muy buenos días. So you will notice that occasionally we'll need to get up and stretch our legs. However, there are speakers in the back and monitors so that we can continue to follow the meeting. With all that, we're ready to hear from our public comment speakers. As a reminder, the purpose of public comment is at this meeting here is for individuals to alert the board to issues that have not been the subject of a recent public hearing or an upcoming public hearing, to ensure that we hear a range of topics, and to be fair and consistent across all speakers and issues, we have a one speaker per topic rule. This rule also helps the board efficiently manage the main purpose of today's meeting, which is to consider the items on the regular meeting agenda and to respect the time of our members who may be waiting for hearings on those scheduled regular agenda items, of which we don't have any today. We appreciate everyone's help in adhering to the meeting procedures and being fair and respectful to your fellow residents. If you are here with the coordinated group, we ask you to identify one representative to raise your topic. That representative can make us aware that there are others who align and share the views of the speaker. Importantly, and that's really very basic, there are other ways for you to let the county board know about an issue, including writing us. The email address is countyboard, one word, @arlingtonva.us. And for a more dynamic conversation and a deeper exploration of your concerns, including the opportunity for multiple residents to present different facets of the topic, we particularly recommend attending an Open Door Monday session. More information about Open Door Monday sessions are available on our website. Please see our clerks, Mr. Kushner and Mr. Davis outside, if you have any question. So, as a next, and before we go on to the public comment, I wanted to remind the public of two things. First of all, resources for federal workers, immigrants, and refugees. Do we have a slide, Mr. Kushner? As we all know, the brutal cuts and layoffs in our federal government are continuing and are continuing to have repercussions for Arlingtonians. Many of them are now in increasingly dire straits financially, socially, as families. And therefore, we want to remind everybody that we provide assistance and we are with them. You can see in this slide that we are now repeating in every board meeting that there is resume assistance for those who need to find a job that's outside the public service sector, with one-on-one coaching, with workshops and resources to create resumes that will meet employer expectations. We have a wealth of resources for mental health support, which for us, which has been a significant area of support for those who are facing right now completely upsetting circumstances in their professional and civic lives. We provide a lot of food security resources, which begins to be an increasing problem across the board, with more families experiencing food insecurity, significantly more families experiencing food insecurity, because federal cuts not only affect middle-class families, they affect and cascading effects everybody, especially in the moderate and lower income parts of our society. Housing resources with rent assistance, housing grants, and permanent supportive housing, and the Affordable Dwelling Unit program to help individuals and families to find stable housing. A lot of, I remember everybody that one of the first questions that we were getting is how to, from people who were losing their jobs, is how to break my lease, because they cannot afford the lease that they have at this moment. And health insurance, that was the second most frequent question, is how to find ways to continue health insurance coverage for themselves and their families. The next slide, please. So upcoming events for federal workers, June 24th is a cover letter webinar. Cover letters are very important. June 24th as well, Ticket to Work information session. And June 26th, the Regional Workforce Council meeting. This is one of the, this is organized and co-sponsored by Arlington and our neighboring city, Alexandria. We share the Alexandria Arlington Regional Workforce Council, and it will be focused on workforce development and economic growth as general conditions in our economy are deteriorating. All this, you can find it in arlingtonva.us, our website. They are in the calendars, and they are always traceable. Next slide, please. So resources for immigrants and refugees. Unfortunately, the administration is continuing with their extremely hostile posture towards our immigrant and refugee communities. I remind always that 1 out of 5 Arlingtonians is not born in the United States. We are places in Arlington where 1 out of 4 Arlingtonians is an immigrant or a refugee.
So the clerk, Mason, is actually on the dais.
Microphone's
He's the
muted,
one
please.
who's actually in the system and who started it. I can't tell you if there was an error message.
My apologies.
So back to where we were. We are keenly aware of the increasing needs. We're keenly aware of the situation of fear, of intimidation, of blank terrorizing entire communities right now. So we do something about that. First of all, there is information on the county website with Know Your Rights, but also information to make life more sustainable right now with food resources, housing and eviction resources, English classes, and very importantly also citizen classes and scholarships to attend the citizen classes. I was yesterday in 2 events where I found out that a lot of people who actually qualified to apply for the US citizenship, they are right now wary and they are afraid to do that despite the fact that they're fully qualified to do that. And so I cannot stress enough how important it is to take advantage of the provided resources. And with that, I wanted to, after this, I wanted to provide a short acknowledgement of the fact that we have today a military parade taking place later today in the District of Columbia mostly. We are, let me advance that we are really grateful to the public safety officers and county staff for their ongoing work and efforts to keep everybody safe during a major event like this, for which we, as you know, we haven't asked for, we haven't been asked for at all, but it's still taking place, which is okay, but it presents always a major safety risk for everybody, and our officers and staff are out to keep everybody safe. For those of us joining us here today and anybody listening, please be mindful and be aware that there will be also potential protests and closures and transit delays, and all this may affect travel throughout the day and throughout the territory, especially close to the Potomac River. So we urge everyone to stay safe, to stay alert, and to plan ahead. I would also like to take a moment, because this is relevant, to remind everyone that of Arlington Alert, which is a free service provided by Arlington County that sends real-time emergency alerts to residents, commuters, and visitors. You can receive notifications about local traffic, hazardous weather, major events like this one, and more. So this service allows you to customize the kind of alerts you get. The more people are signed up for that, the better it is for everybody. So, and closing here with this, I want to ask the clerk if we're ready to move to public comment. The clerk will call 2 speakers at a time. And to keep things moving smoothly and respect everyone's time, we will ask that the next speaker come to the front and be ready when called. We know many of you want to show support for a speaker in their remarks, and so we welcome that. However, we ask you that you hold any applause if you can't, and instead use the American Sign Language to gesture applause and to show your support. Having said that, Mr. Clerk, please call the first speakers.
Of course, just a moment. Our first speaker is Kishori Mahulikar, followed by Samer Hassan.
Good morning.
Can you hear me? Oh,
Yes.
okay. I have slides.
Pulling him up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, morning everyone. I am here to talk about the Virginia Israeli Advisory Board, or VIAB, which is an Israeli business entity in the United States embedded in our state's government. Israel is a foreign country. Israel is the only foreign country that has an advisory board here in Virginia that is taxpayer funded. This means that taxpayer money, either directly or indirectly, is diverted away from Virginians and Arlingtonians to fund Israeli business interests and lately, their weapons interests. On paper, about $300 in Virginia taxpayer money goes directly to their CEO. But thanks to the journalism of reporter Grant Smith, we know that VIAB is able to divert millions more towards Israeli interests by creating beta companies that ultimately take business away from Virginians. VIAB encourages Virginians to invest in weapons built for Israel. These weapons are expensive for the U.S., and have been used to decimate the Gaza Strip. They secured $1 million in funding to bring Israel Aircraft Industry, or IAI, an Israeli state-owned weapons company, to Virginia, and they also provide assistance to Elbit Systems here in Arlington. It seems that VIAB's mission is to redirect economic funds towards Israel instead of Virginia. Uncovering VIAB's ties and Arlington's contracts can take time, but it is necessary. You will find if you dig deep enough that even Arlington Public Schools is intertwined with VIAB. We know that Arlington County officials were in direct communication with VIAB vis-a-vis their tech launch pad at National Landing. Working closely together, Arlington County officials and VIAB collaborated to market National Landing as a tech launch pad to siphon off more Virginia taxpayer money to Israeli companies, and they are working with Starburst, who collaborates with IAI. Next slide. Oh, yeah. Since October 2023, Israel has unleashed a brutal genocide of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Here in Arlington County, Virginia, our money should go towards us and not towards a mass extermination of 2 million people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mahulikar. The next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Samer Hassan, followed by Audrey Clement. In just a moment, I'll get the timers up.
Good morning.
Morning. Can you all hear me?
I believe you are. I don't know. Yes,
No?
it is on.
Yeah, cool.
You can lift a little bit on the right side, on your right side.
No, that's fine.
you have-
That's cool.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you to the board. Oh, thank you. Thank you to the board for the opportunity to speak today. I'm a new resident of Arlington, Virginia, and one of the key reasons I chose to move here was the promise of strong public goods, abundant green spaces, accessible public transportation, and a reputation for investing in the well-being of the community. However, since arriving, I've been troubled by a very different reality. A growing number of residents are being pushed out of their neighborhoods due to rising rents and the erosion of essential services, especially healthcare. We know, and the data is clear, that where you live directly impacts how long you live. So these developments are not just economic issues, they are matters of life and death. In my work as a policy advocate, I hear firsthand from Virginians about their struggles accessing healthcare. Just recently, a healthcare navigator shared with me a concerning trend. More and more people are being dropped from the marketplace. Premiums are increasing sharply, and the very program that was supposed to expand access to care is now failing those who need it most. Many are choosing to go without coverage entirely, not because they want to, but because they simply can't afford it. The cost outweighs the perceived benefit, which is tragic indictment of our current system. There's also a little-known healthcare lottery for low-income families and children, regardless of immigration status. Rather than investing in public awareness and education about these programs, the state seems to be prioritizing other, less urgent projects. Why are we underfunding programs that could literally save lives while spending public dollars to attract foreign offices to set up shop here? Why the hell are we supporting a Virginia-Israel Advisory Board that is subsidized by the state? You're more interested in supporting a colonial entity conducting a genocide and found guilty of crimes against humanity than supporting your own citizens? I urge the board to commit to policies and funding decisions that reflect Arlington's values. So let's invest in people first, not states guilty of crimes against humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan.
Our next speaker is Audrey Clement, followed by Fala Feinbo.
Good morning.
Welcome, members of the board and the county manager. I'm Audrey Clement, an independent candidate for county board. On May 13th, with little notice, no public hearing, and a vote scheduled on a weekday when most county residents were at work, County Board revoked Section 7 of the county trust policy, which had authorized limited cooperation with ICE. Under Section 7, Arlington police could notify ICE of cases involving undocumented immigrants, wanted or arrested for a felony offense, identified as gang members, or arrested for terrorism or human trafficking. So what's wrong with that? J.D. Spain insists that repeal of Section 7 was necessitated by widespread public support. Why then was previous commentary on Section 7 monopolized by two open borders groups, La Colectiva with no known local address, and a board located in Washington State, and CASA Virginia from Woodbridge, Virginia? If indeed there is broad-based support for keeping ICE out of Arlington, why couldn't the general public weigh in? Takis Karantonis frames repeal of Section 7 as a public safety issue, necessitated by members of the immigrant community reluctant to contact police or other emergency services for fear of getting arrested themselves. But increased crime, not increased public safety, will result from non-cooperation with ICE. Consider what happens when illegal immigrant felons who have served their sentences are released from the county jail without work authorization. No doubt they will revert to a life of crime to survive, and their principal victims will be legal immigrants from their own neighborhoods. This should be a matter of concern to all. Yet Open Borders crowd has expressed no concern about the revolving door to prison. Why should they? Since many of them live nowhere near here, they won't be impacted. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Clement. The next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Paula Feinbaugh, followed by Noah Montgomery.
Good morning. I'm here representing Aspire After School Learning and the 150 Arlington children and families who rely on us. In April, our AmeriCorps funding was eliminated effective immediately. And unless we close our funding gap, 1 in 3 of our students will lose access to Aspire this fall. That means 50 children from immigrant, Black, and low-income families will no longer have a safe, trusted, structured space to grow, learn, and belong after school. Aspire is the only daily academic program for 3rd through 8th graders in Arlington that is completely no cost to families. Without Aspire, promising young Arlington residents will be left behind. Over the past 3 years, we have doubled the number of students we serve, and our students gain as much as 2 grade levels in reading and math. We're not asking the county to fill this entire gap, but we are asking for support, specifically $50,000 to help sustain our program. 18 Arlington Safety Net and racial justice organizations, many of whom are facing uncertainties of their own, have signed on to a joint letter of support because they know Aspire is irreplaceable in this community. This is a collective statement that Aspire is not optional, it's essential. I know times are uncertain, but this is also a time of opportunity. Opportunity to believe that we as a county will have enough when it comes to supporting our most vulnerable kids and families. And in the spirit of abundance, it's important to note that Aspire believes this funding should not come at the expense of other funding directed to free after-school programming. In closing, we shared a packet with 39 letters of support from Aspire parents and children who see Aspire not just as a trusted family, but as a lifeline to future economic stability. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Finfo. The next speaker, please. Good morning.
Sorry, a moment. Yep, our next speaker is Noah Montgomery, followed by Ms. Jordanis Woldai.
Good morning. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I do not take this privilege lightly. I wanted to come here this morning to speak on behalf of a marginalized, largely unrepresented, forgotten part of our community that is facing intense persecution and even death on a constant basis. Specifically in regards to public safety, I am talking about the murder and child sacrifice of babies and children through the act of abortion at the hand of parents and abortionists. Just as slavery, anti-Semitism, and other evil movements have sought to dehumanize their victims, in the same way this culture has sought to dehumanize the child that lives and grows inside of the womb, a place meant to be the most protected space of all. I am asking you this morning to use the power vested in you as the Arlington County Board to end abortion in this county by immediately declaring the abortion pill illegal, restricting the procedure of abortion in this county, and lastly, offering a phone hotline and immediate support to mothers who are considering murdering their children. Now, I understand this is a sensitive topic, but it's very important to acknowledge that Jesus offers help and a way out of broken situations. Although human pride and selfishness would try to get in the way, I ask you to consider that God is going to judge Arlington, this county board, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and this nation by what we do on this issue. It is not something to be ignored. Jesus' blood, however, can heal and redeem, and he offers salvation. I ask you to ensure public safety and end the murder of children in this county by ending abortion. I also have for evidence for submission the story of Bernard Nathanson, an abortion doctor who performed tens of thousands of abortions, murders, and then before the end of his life came to realize that life does begin at the moment of conception. So God bless, thank you for this time, and Jesus, have your way in this county. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. The next speaker, please.
Yes, our next speaker is Ms. Jordanis Woldai, followed by Sam Levison.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, members of the board. My name is Jordanis Woldai, and I'm the first vice president of the Green Valley Civic Association and lead of public safety. I'm here on behalf of the Civic Association and residents who are deeply concerned about the ongoing and worsening public safety issues in our neighborhood, particularly around the John Robinson Jr. Town Square, the Shelton apartment building, and Dr. Charles Drew Elementary School. Visible illegal activity continues daily. Public drug and alcohol use, gambling, loud noise, loitering, and even violent incidents, including drug dealing and gunfire. These aren't isolated nuisances. They are degrading our quality of life, threatening our safety, and eroding community spaces. Children can't walk home without witnessing illegal behavior. Local businesses have either closed or are struggling. Many families avoid the area entirely. Residents at AHC's Shelton are afraid to use their front entrance because of the large crowds of people loitering, gambling, smoking marijuana, and drinking alcohol. We are asking for a coordinated response, not more meetings, but real action. We call on the county to form a dedicated multi-agency working group, including AHC, to implement immediate measurable solutions as well as long-term strategies. These must include consistent enforcement from ACPD and code enforcement, beautification of neglected areas and thoughtful programming to reclaim public spaces, hold AHC accountable for the conditions in and around the Shelton. This is about equity. Green Valley deserves the same level of safety, dignity, and investment as any other Arlington neighborhood. We stand ready to partner with you, but we need your leadership and commitment now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Woldai.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sam
next
Levison, followed by Asim.
Good morning, Mr. Levinson.
Hi, good morning. Give me 1 moment. All right. As Arlington County's website rightly states, recycling glass has a lot of environmental benefits. Glass can be recycled indefinitely without loss of quality, and it also takes a lot less energy to recycle glass than to produce it from sand. Furthermore, it does make sense that the county is collecting glass separately from other materials. When it's collected with other things, glass can easily get crushed and broken, contaminate other materials, and make it harder for the materials to be sorted out from each other. With all this being said, currently there are only 5 places for people to drop off their glass bottles and jars for recycling in Arlington County: Quincy Park, Trade Center, and Aurora Hills, Lee, and Madison community centers. Now, I'd like to do what I did back in March and urge Arlington County to expand availability of these services, but if I did that, I expect that Takis would cut me off and say that I cannot do that because this year's budget feedback hearing has already passed. So instead, I'll make a suggestion that would not have to be factored into the budget. I'd like to propose starting a new group in Arlington County, which I'll call for now the Recycling Industry Advisory Board, or RIAB. One key responsibility of RIAB could be to monitor how quickly glass collection receptacles fill up around Arlington and relocate the receptacles as need be to maximize glass recycling collection. Another key responsibility of this group could be to provide more education about glass recycling in other languages. And yet another key responsibility of RIAB should be to ensure that Arlington does not collaborate with VIAB to bring in any businesses into Arlington, whether recycling or weapons companies, that contribute to Israel's apartheid and genocide against Palestinians.
Thank you, Mr. Levinson, especially for the fact that you recycled your testimony from previous.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Asim, followed by Sophie Schroll.
And I got slides again?
I do, if you give me just a moment.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning. And I'll get started on the slides come up.
Come on.
All right. So I know how much you all love free speech, so I really hope I can get through this without Takis trying to shut me down for the third time in 3 months. Over the course of the year, we have presented a sample of emails showing AED working directly with genocidal apartheid entities. Based on last month's board meeting, I apparently can't show you these emails because you guys love free speech so much. Next slide. Takis' response to these emails in January was, quote, "We don't vet businesses or investments according to their political beliefs. We do have ethics rules," end quote. Next slide. So I went to the Arlington Economic Development Commission meeting in February. I heard many references to AED's values as it applies to their strategy and how they operate. I followed up with an email and asked directly, 1, point me towards your ethics policy and stated values. And 2, how exactly does the community get input into how AED operates? Next slide. AED's director responded, essentially saying they do not receive community input. He responded saying they do receive community input, but he didn't say exactly how. He also said that you all set the policy that they abide by. Next slide. I attended the Open Door Monday meeting on May 19th. Takis was surprised that there was no way to provide input at the commission. And he also stated that AED's policy guidance is in the county's formal budget document. I checked the budget, and spoiler alert, no ethics to be found. Next slide. Lastly, I received confirmation from Takis' aide confirming that no, AED does not take any public comment. That must be the good old Arlington way that we always talk about. Next slide. So where does that leave us? You said genocide and apartheid were not local issues. You essentially lied about that. You said AED operates under ethics rules. Another lie. You dug your heads in the sand as we call you out on it, and now you limit and prevent us from providing public input and oversight. We need to stop letting AED use our tax dollars to help facilitate and fund genocide and apartheid.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. The next speaker, please.
Yes, a moment, please. Our next speaker is, Sophie Schull, followed by Ms. Tina Muse.
Good morning.
Good morning. Today, I plan to discuss how Arlington partners with foreign entities to exploit Arlington's...
I'm sorry, can you speak a little bit closer to the microphone if you can?
Thank you. Today, I plan to discuss how Arlington partners with foreign entities to exploit Arlington's diverse population, specifically the LGBTQ+ facet of this population. They proclaim a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion while bringing to Arlington companies that uphold the racial apartheid of Israel, as well as Israel's indiscriminate bombings of Palestinian people, many of whom are themselves members of the LGBTQ+ community. As a member of this community myself, I find the co-opting of my community's rich diversity and presence in Arlington in order to murder for economic gain to be insulting. And I would like to see greater transparency as far as what is actually being done to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. We also demand transparency about how AED and its partner organizations like VIAB overturn efforts for DEI progress through supporting racism and the genocide of queer Palestinians and all Palestinians. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, please.
Our next speaker joining us virtually is Tina Muse, followed by Ms. Rebecca.
Good morning. I've been a River House resident for the past 25 years. The River House project is currently under review by the Planning Commission. My comments are about the overall planning process and not about the specifics of the River House site plan, because I do understand that you can't get ahead of the Planning Commission review. I'm excited about the River House project, especially for an expanded VHC health facility. However, I am concerned about major inconsistencies in CPHD's planning process and its unequal treatment of projects. For example, a much more rigorous process was followed for the much smaller Melwood site that's only 3,100 feet away from River House. A special GLUP study was conducted for Melwood, but not for River House. As you can see from my document, the River House site plan has changed significantly during the SPRC. It's understandable that site plans change between LPRC and SPRC, but they shouldn't change so significantly during the SPRC process. Therefore, I recommend that, at a minimum, you direct CPHD to put the River House site plan back through the LRPC. Ideally, I recommend that you direct CPHD to conduct a special GLUP study for River House. The Pentagon City sector plan has been insufficient to inform the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Muse. The next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Ms. Rebecca, followed by Ms. M. Cardozo.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Last month, I witnessed the board cut off a speaker and deny him his time. I watched in horror as the police officer moved closer to forcibly removing him from this podium. This week, I became aware that many speakers here and in the past have been called and asked to clarify their topic in an attempt to deter and refine the number of speakers here today. As respectfully as I can, I must ask, what does patriotism look like? Every month, it's neighbors, workers, Arlingtonians who come to you. The sense of urgency being communicated with these intersecting topics reflects the world that we live in. But when these topics are brought up, there is a resistance to listen. Out of loyalty to a one speaker per topic rule that is seemingly at the whim of the board to decide not only who, but what topic gets cut off. This rule does not exist in other elected spaces within the county, for example, the Arlington School Board, nor in surrounding counties, including Alexandria. I urge you to consider this rule in relation to who it benefits. Every time you cut someone off, you are endorsing authoritarianism, threatening our right to free speech. The convenient thing to do is to proceed like normal, but things are not normal. Our neighbors are abducted, people are dying. How much longer can you afford to sit and wait? How much money are we spending screening the topics brought to you by your own community? How many people must be removed from this podium? We must do everything in our power to protect and advocate for those who need it. Our neighbors, our families, people we will never meet. Using this rule as a scapegoat to silence our ability to call attention to injustice is unacceptable. Is merely speaking the words Palestine, genocide, Virginia Israeli Advisory Board all it takes to be cut off? That is a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rebecca. The next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Ms. M. Cardozo, followed by Ms. Dionysia Thompson.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Good morning. We can hear.
Good morning. Thank you. May 15th, 2025 was the 77th anniversary of the 1948 Nakba, when Israelis expelled over 800,000 Palestinians from their homes and lands in Akka, Haifa, Jaffa, Jerusalem, and over 500 Palestinian towns and villages. The Nakba means catastrophe in Arabic. Denying the Nakba is denying the human rights of the Palestinians. The Palestinians were the majority population in Palestine and owned 94% of the land that became the State of Israel in 1948. The Israelis continue to prevent the Palestinians from returning to their homes and lands in violation of international law. Imagine being driven from your homeland, losing all of your possessions, and becoming a refugee for 75 years, separated from your family and everything you love, and demonized for struggling to achieve your human rights. Northern Virginia has one of the highest concentrations of Arab Americans in the country, and many of them are Palestinian Americans. They sought refuge in the United States after being forced from Palestine, including here in Arlington County, Virginia. Most Arab Americans have been affected in some way by the Nakba, especially if they have families in Palestine, Israel, and almost anywhere in the Middle East or dispersed throughout the world. We ask Arlington County to commemorate the Nakba because the population of Arlington County is multicultural, educated, and compassionate, and they are concerned about Palestinians and the Holy Land. We ask Arlington County to recognize the humanity of Palestinians by commemorating the 75th year of their pain and sorrow and acknowledging Palestinian Americans' struggle to achieve their inalienable human rights. It is always the right thing to acknowledge other people's suffering and loss, and it is always the right thing to be on the side of international law and human rights. Arlington County should commemorate the Palestinian Nakba of 1948 as requested by Palestinian Americans for Arlington County and human rights advocates. And we request that you stop doing business with VIAB. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cardoso. The next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Dionysia Thompson, followed by Ryan N.
Good morning, Ms. Thompson.
If you give me just a
You
moment
can
to reset the
adjust the
timer.
height on the right side. There is a button.
Right
that
side?
you- yeah, on your right side there is a button at the
It's okay. I can
podium.
reach. I can reach it.
Okay, good.
Right. I'm here. I think I've been here. This
We
is my
can
second
hear.
time, and addressing the same thing. It's about the parking enforcement in our area in Cherrydale and all over in Arlington. I'm seeing a lot of changes in the area that people are just parking everywhere, and there's no limit. It used to be a couple of hours is the limit for anybody who could park. And I've seen in my neighborhood parking from DC, Maryland, overnight, and I was very surprised. It concerned me that if this is going on, there's going to be other people from different, like Virginia or whatever, I mean, not Virginia, DC or Maryland, to do the same thing. And it's invitation for a crime. And we've been residents in the area for 30 years. And I getting concerned that before I can leave my house, open door, and now I'm scared that anybody can come in and shut the door. I have concern of safety in the neighborhood of what's going on right now. People are just parking here everywhere, no limit, and I know the place is a public property, but it should have a limit of the parking time that they should be parking in the neighborhood. That's mine. And also I know I didn't write it down, and also like there's a lot of overgrown trees all over in Arlington, and nobody is overseeing it. That needs to be cut down. That it's a safety concern too, that it can fall on the road or the houses in the neighborhood, and nobody's overseeing it in Arlington. That's all my concern, safety of Arlington.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. Can I ask you one question for my clarification? Which street are we talking about?
Talking
in
about Cherrydale?
Yeah, but what street more or less?
We're talking
in general?
about Randolph.
Randolph, okay.
Randolph area. There's a lot of overgrown trees there that it's way up.
Thank you.
In fact, my neighbor, like 3 or trees, it fall in my house, my son and I will be dead if
Understand.
it fall.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you
just
so
wanted
much.
to locate the concern.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Our next speaker is Ryan N., followed by Alex Ortiz.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning again. I just want to highlight a recent contract, or I guess I should say recently, because it came to my attention recently, contract that Arlington County, through its school system, entered into with Sun Tribe Solar. It's a solar company, as evidenced by its name. Now, while initially I'm excited by the prospect of solar energy coming to Arlington, especially with the proliferation of data centers and all the energy that they eat up, I do want to highlight that Sun Tribe Solar is actually owned or partners with Israeli companies, including Kaden Energix, which is an Israeli energy company, which is majority owned by Aloni Hetz, a major Israeli company. Kaden Energix operates renewable energy wind farms and solar panels in the occupied West Bank and Golan Heights, and Aloni Hetz also invests in illegal settlements in the West Bank. So again, while I'm excited by the prospect of solar energy in Arlington, I do urge going forward that the county more closely examine the relationships the businesses or the companies it does business with have with foreign entities such as Kaden Energix and Aloni Hetz. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Our next and final speaker this morning is Alex Ortiz.
Alex Ortiz. Good morning.
Good morning, members of the board. While the president spends $45 million on his military parade just miles from where we are this morning, I also want us all to think about the $18 million that this city of Arlington has spent in the last year to fund the genocide and ecocide in Gaza. But today I'm here to talk about ecocide. As an atmospheric scientist and a climate advocate professional, I think I'm well suited to talk about ecocide. But I also want to make it clear that you don't have to be an expert to stand up here and talk about the total destruction of the planet, of Arlington, or of Gaza. You just have to be a human being. Ecocide, by definition, is the destruction of large areas of the natural environment as a consequence of human activity. When most people think about ecocide, they think about the environment. In February, the Arlington County Board adopted a climate action resolution which stated that Arlington is dedicated to becoming a national leader in responding to the challenge of climate change. But did you know that a study just concluded that Israel's unrelenting assault on Gaza will be greater than the planet-warming emissions of 100 individual countries? How can we claim to be a national leader in responding to climate change when our cities fund the very entities that destroy our environment? In previous meetings, several members of the board asked the citizens of Arlington to do their part to implement the Climate Action Resolution. Well, right now we are all here doing our part, asking why we are investing our money in the Virginia Israeli Advisory Board, dollars that could be spent invested in our communities to actually protect our environment and achieve our climate goals.
Sir, we talked about the Virginia. Somebody else talked twice about the Virginia VIAB.
I have one more paragraph, if you let me.
Yes.
Instead, we are choosing to invest in the entity that is actively contributing to the destruction of a people and of a land. I think if you're asking community members to do our part, we're out here talking about it. It's time for you guys to do your part and make funding decisions that reflect Arlington's values, not VIAB. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I don't see more speakers on the list, but there may be.
There are no further speakers this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, like it is customary, I will take a crack at responding shortly to most comments that we heard today. We take all the comments very seriously. This is just our first reaction. If there are after action items, we will follow up with the people who provided testimony. And after I'm through my list of speakers, I will invite colleagues to add with their opinions and their reactions to what we heard today. Thanking again all who took the time to come here and testify this morning. On the first one, Ms. Manulikar, the Virginia Israel Advisory Board is a government agency by definition that helps Israeli companies to build and grow their U.S. operations in Virginia. So this is the official description, self-description of that. This is an issue that you have to take with other members of the General Assembly, the governor of Virginia, etc. This is a board it's a Virginia Israeli board. I have no opinion on this more than that. As an elected official in Arlington, I have an opinion as a person, but not as an elected official in Arlington. I want to clarify the way we interact with all these kinds of agencies and with a lot of state, federal, and other boards. We participate in Select USA. Select USA is a federal program. It's part of the Department of Commerce that facilitates investment in the United States of America. And Arlington, last time I checked, is a municipality in a county in the United States of America. So we promote Arlington across the world in many countries and many continents, in almost all the continents except for Antarctica. And we have business relationships with people who want to invest money in Arlington, employ people in Arlington, and grow our economy and employ our people here. So that's the level of engagement that we have with all economic development agencies, wherever they come from. We have a lot of work with European economic development agencies, with South American development agencies, with Asian, diverse African, so Australian, by the way, as well. So we don't put a political filter on that. Imagine if we put a filter on that, how many possibilities we would actually take out of the list that would be impossible to manage. Mr. Hassan, on Medicaid, despite the fact that you wanted to submit your comment in the context of a political position on the Middle East, we are very well aware how much the current budget that the president has proposed, that Congress has passed, hopefully not the Senate, how much of a damage it makes to the health care, and especially Medicaid, that will leave with the most conservative estimates, more than 8 million Americans without healthcare insurance. We feel that here too. In Virginia, there are more than 600,000 Virginians, the Medicaid coverage for whom are at risk right now. And not only that, the premiums. The budget affects the price of the premiums in the marketplace for those who seek coverage through ACA, through Obamacare. And this concerns us even more because this will affect many middle class and lower, moderate and lower income Virginians. We cannot state strong enough how opposed we are to that. As a local government, we have very little jurisdiction on this, but our voice will be extremely strong in protecting the access to healthcare for all Virginians and for all Arlingtonians. Dr. Clement, on the trust policy. Trust policy is a policy. It's not an act of the county board. It's an internal policy of Arlington County. We were extremely transparent with that. I think what preceded that were several months of discussions and several iterations of changing the policy. We have opened the process to everybody, including to you, despite the fact that you haven't chimed in, but now on this issue. I take exception on the assertion that somehow this will lead to increased crime, because this sounds like insinuating that our immigrant population that we are trying to for which we are trying to create a trustful environment of engaging with local law enforcement is somehow going to become criminal. This is not something that we agree on. And by the way, you said also, or I understood that you said that we are releasing, that people are released with all proper authorization. This is just not true. Ms. Finbo, I couldn't agree more with you that Aspire is an irreplaceable asset in Arlington County for the families and for our entire community. We are in active negotiations on this and how to find ways to support Aspire that is suffering already from federal program cuts. We're committed to find a solution. The solution will take negotiation and work by all of us. I think my colleagues have already engaged, and they will elaborate more on that. I engage personally as well. Mr. Montgomery, first of all, if I'm not mistaken, welcome to Arlington. I believe that you used to be or are still a resident of the 7th District in the District of Columbia. So welcome to Northern Virginia, welcome to Virginia and to Arlington. As you, I received your testimony. I am staunchly pro-choice and for the right of women, every human being, to decide for their body and for reproductive rights without any other limitation that can be imposed on them. I think that we are not in a good place in America right now with reproductive rights, especially after Dobbs. I think that what it was taken away for a constitutional right was taken away from more than half of the population of this country. This is, to me, unacceptable. I'm deeply opposed to that. Mrs. Voltaire, it is if I count correctly, it must be the 4th time that you have been here. I really appreciate your testimony. We are focusing on Green Valley, and I don't want to single out Green Valley on that. It happens to be in Green Valley, but we try to understand and find the best ways and methods to work with the community. And as you know, both myself as well as my colleagues have been engaging in person and on site with the problems that have arisen around the John Robinson Square, at the Shelton Apartments, and in the neighborhood, as well as in other focus places where we had some pressure on public safety. I know that this is and I agree with you, this is a long march. This is not going to be a sprint. We have been trying a lot of new concepts and focusing on that, and maybe the manager wants to elaborate a little bit on the latest. And I will be happy to let him say a couple of things about the latest activities in Green Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as of the beginning of May, we've had active foot patrols in Green Valley, and we also have been working closely with AHC on what's going on at the Shelton. That doesn't mean we've solved all the issues. We have also formed, and I think we've talked about this publicly, the community action team with the police department. One of its responsibilities is to spend time in Green Valley and specifically at the town square. And we are going to publish regularly. We do statistics on the number of interactions we've had with the community there. And though I don't think it's a measure necessarily of public safety, we also will make available the information on the number of arrests that have taken place. But we continue conversations. That doesn't mean that the situation has gotten to where we want it to be.
Yes, and it will take some time. I think that we'll have more comments on that from colleagues. Mr. Levinson, again, thank you on your recital testimony on glass. I remember that you testified on this topic before. I applaud your creative thinking on that. I would invite you to come to one of our Open Door Mondays to discuss the details. By the way, part of the Select USA activities that connect with Israeli companies. As you know, the State of Israel is one of the prime recycling government nations in the world. They have one of the best logistics expertise that is available right now in the Mediterranean. I can tell you that for sure. So maybe that could be an interesting part of our conversation. Mr. Rawood, about AED and EDC, the Economic Development Commission, because these are two different things. For Arlington Economic Development, we set policy, and this is part of us. So if you have an issue with that, you come to us for that. The Economic Development Commission indeed doesn't have a public comment section. The advisory commissions are not under no obligation to accommodate public comment. This is a good place to discuss that. I do think some do. Others don't. Advisory commissions don't make decisions, right? So therefore, they only receive public comments and they advise the board. If you have a proposal for changing this, I welcome this, and we started a discussion of whether we should have more homogeneous rules about how commissions engage with the public. Ms. Scholl. Is that a nickname, right? Sophie Scholl? Or that's wrong? Okay, that's your name. Congratulations, because you have your namesake is a very historic figure who fought against Nazism and paid with her life in 1943, I believe. So thank you for that. There are tons of resources that show how not only Arlington County, but specifically Arlington Economic Development went out of their way to support this year's Pride Month, doing it all the time, and how all branding of Arlington is specifically and very publicly supporting our LGBTQI+ community. I will be very happy to reach out to you with the details on that. Ms. Muse. Thank you for your comments. I want just to clarify that the Melgo site had 2 phases, because there was a special GLOB study that has its own public process, and then the site plan decision that is added to that. So it may have seemed to you as a longer and more thorough, but it is not. It is just that it is a longer process because it has these 2 parts. For River House, the first part, the planning part, has happened already 3 years ago, I believe. So, and it was hotly debated and very thoroughly vetted. However, I think that since your comments are already tangential to upcoming and right now in discussion site plans, I will be very happy to engage with you to figure out specific concerns and see how best we can embed them in the public process as it's ongoing right now. Ms. Rebecca, the one speaker per topic issue is part of our rules here. There is a place to criticize that. The idea of the board is that this is not a public forum per se. It is a place where public comment can be provided in order to alert the board on things that are arising in the community, but not necessarily to create a forum to comment on all these things from all possible aspects. There are other places where this can happen and can happen very easily, which are the aforementioned Open Door Mondays, and of course all the ways that the public can reach us here, which is pretty much straightforward, sending us email, asking for meetings, etc., etc. Ms. Cardozo, on the foundational events in 1947 for the State of Israel. It is until now our consensus here that we commemorate events that affect directly, that are actual events that affect Arlingtonians. I understand there are many petitions every year to commemorate other events, both celebratory as well traumatic. I mean, the Armenian genocide, etc. That comes all. We don't do foreign policy on this. There is a process to request a commemorative proclamation of the board. So I will direct you to the clerk to explain to you how this can be done, but I wouldn't be sure that this would succeed in that for this specific request. Mr. Ryan N. on Suntrack Solar, again, the same comment as always in Arlington Economic Development. We don't filter for political reasons. And the same applies to the testimony of Mr. Ortiz. Thank you. Colleagues, any comments? Vice Chair DeFerranti.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just briefly thank Aspire and all who came with Aspire for one person speaking and everyone else joining. I think we made some you were here last month, most of you, and I think we made some progress towards snaps. And I'm often very persuaded by people standing in the audience when Ms. Finbo was speaking. That is another option available, but just I know that each of you feels equally strongly about Aspire's mission as some of the other topics mentioned today, and so I just wanted to thank everybody for that and hope that we can continue to work towards the civility that I think is so important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeFerranti. Other comments?
I just want to add my thanks to all of you for being here. It's a very full weekend, and we have a very full room today. So I always celebrate that Arlington is willing to show up and speak up, and appreciate that. I think that we will have a little conversation about some of the AED pieces, and I'll defer to my colleague for some of that. But I do want to make sure as we move to that, Mr. Manager, I'd love for you to share a little bit about the code of ethics we have for all of our staff, how we manage that. And then just to note that I think the chair mentioned we do have a commission handbook that's now more than a decade old. We know it needs to be revised, but it does also include some of the conflict of interest and ethics rules for our commissions that work on behalf of the board.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Cunningham. So we have a code of ethics that is in place for all county employees. It's available for if anyone wants to take a look at it on our website. It is dated to 2008. I've looked at it. Perhaps some of the words need to be adjusted, but I did want to address specifically what I think are some broad assertions about the conduct of Arlington Economic Development staff. If anybody has any concern that an individual by name is doing something that's unethical, we have no tolerance for unethical conduct, and there's a place for people to go. We have a fraud, waste, and abuse hotline where you can even anonymously go and share information about unethical conduct. I'd like to say from my experience in working with our staff, they're of the highest integrity, and they hold the highest ethical values. In those cases where they don't, we treat that directly, but I'm always impressed with the personal commitment of all our staff to do exactly what is good for our community, following the direction of the board. And I look forward, if people have specific points that they want to make, that we will address them rather than dealing with broad assertions about the character of people they do not know. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer.
Thank you. And I think I also just want to take a moment to note the fullness of the weekend out beyond this room, and some of the real tensions in our community and across our country. I think we're getting some word of violence, politically motivated violence happening in Minnesota last night. And we have a lot of difference of opinions throughout our country and throughout our community. So I appreciate everyone being here today and being here in a respectful tone and open to hearing one another. And I hope as protests and parades and other things happen throughout the day, that each of us will take that with us to be as respectful and caring of one another as we can, as well as supporting our public safety folks who are putting themselves out there to help us stay safe. And then I want a couple other comments. Aspire, really glad to see you here, and for our young people joining us as well. I know it's hard to sit through some of this, so thank you for being here. As a former educator myself, I know how crucial those relationships are and how crucial those the tutoring hours are, particularly coming out of COVID. And I'm glad to see our community foundation leaders here as well. This is an all-community effort that we all need to open our checkbooks and help support our organizations through this time. And then I think two last ones on parking enforcement. Mr. Manager, I'd love for you to share a little bit about how we have worked both in this year's budget and next year's budget to come back from a COVID era that had less enforcement than we once did. And I know I've been working with a number of the Cherrydale leaders, and our constituent services team actually could maybe answer this fully, because Jenny's been taking the lead for the cross-organizational effort.
I'm going to let Jenny speak to that a little bit, but we've spent a lot of time not only working with, the board spent a lot of time on this. We spent a lot of time with police, also the Commissioner of the Revenue, a multi-agency group, and I'll let Jenny speak to that. But there is the option also for neighborhoods to consider, through our residential parking program, the opportunity to consider limiting parking based on certain criteria. And I can't speak to whether the individual who came today has had those conversations, but I'm going to let Jenny add anything she might want to add.
Assuming I can. Good morning. Thank you, County Manager, Board Member Cunningham, and colleagues. The Cherrydale parking situation, we are well aware of that. Not quite 10 days ago, there was a very robust interdepartmental countywide agency meeting to discuss a variety of resident feedback that we have received. In representatives, just in good order, from both the Department of Environmental Services, our parking team, traffic engineering and operations, as well as planning, as well as one elected official, a board member, and a variety of other staff. So I can assure you that we are looking to provide a coordinated county response to several issues that we have heard. Specific actions that derive from that meeting, for which I am in fact coordinating, include discussions with several of the businesses about how some of their employee parking may be impacting the neighborhood quality of life, as well as some other business processes in the neighborhood, again, that perhaps we can improve some other outcomes. So we are actively scheduling those meetings, and I would encourage 2 points. I would like to reiterate the county manager's point regarding the residential parking program, which I believe is very beneficial in circumstances such as these. It only takes 80% of the neighbors on your block. Now, there are some other rules associated with that, but it doesn't have to be neighborhood-wide, but it could be just on a handful of blocks. So if you and your neighbors are particularly upset about parking, there are things that could be done, and the approach for how to do that is available on the county website. Secondly, again, there are meetings on a cross-departmental aspect that will be ongoing. And I would encourage you to turn out for the September 18th Cherrydale Civic Association meeting. We are actively engaged with the Civic Association and its leadership to address these issues and in ongoing conversation. So more to come.
Thank you very much. Actually, thank you very much times two, because I know we had several people coming to our Open Door Mondays with a very diverse spectrum of concerns in the area. So Constituent Services has responded, and I'm very, very thankful for this. Thank you.
And one last comment. Thank you, by the way. Really great to see the interdepartmental work, which a lot of times these challenges that aren't quick fixes are not quick fixes because it takes a lot of hands to get there. Lastly, on the waste management question, I do want to point you to the fact that we have an amazing solid waste committee that does a lot of the education work and the efforts that you mentioned. And then we recently updated the solid waste management plan. So if glass recycling or any other waste management item is of great interest, please look there and look to get involved there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. Mrs. Spain.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll try not to make this too long, but I too want to align myself with my colleague, Ms. Cunningham, and thank each and every one of you for being out here this morning. You could have been anywhere, but you decided to be here at the Government Center. Let me start by saying, with the early comments that were made about Green Valley, many of you know during the organizational meeting back in January when I came here, one of the first things I talked about was getting a grab on Green Valley. Historically, there's been some significant issues with public safety, and I want to first commend my colleagues and also commend the county manager, because I think we are charting a course to do things better, right? So on April 14th, we had a meeting, we being the county, myself, Board Chair Takis Karantonis, along with some other members, Green Valley Civic Association, AHC, ACPD, Commonwealth Fraternity, and that was in person, right? And we are, you know, I know we don't want to have meetings, and I'm not a big time meeting person. We want to get to actions and solutions, but I think we're getting everyone on the same sheet of music to figure out what we've done in the past, what we're doing now, and how can we improve and do things better in the future. So we had another meeting on June 2nd. That was virtual and it was well attended. I understand wholeheartedly the concerns of the leaders of the Green Valley Civic Association. I speak with them constantly. I'm down in Green Valley quite often. Though I do not live there, I am innately aware of the issues and concerns. And I just want to remind all of our citizens in Green Valley and across Arlington that we're going to do everything in our power, I believe, as a board to make things better. There will be a closed meeting coming up this week where I believe we will discuss public safety issues as a board, as a collective, about what we've done, where we are, and more to follow. Also, I'm aware that the Green Valley Civic Association is somewhat on recess until September, but we will continually engage and look how we can and see how we can get in front of some of the issues that are ongoing, whether that's around the school area, whether that's around the John Robinson Park. Again, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done, so we'll stay focused there. I will say that to Ms. Clement, who was here a little while ago, and I think I totally disagree with her context about Section 7 of the trust policy. I believe this board took the right stand when it comes to removal of Section 7, and it wasn't because of one or two entities. It was from many organizations that have engaged with this community over years, and I think we did the right thing. If you've been watching the MCOG, the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments, there was a report that came out a few days ago, and actually what you see so far this year, crime has actually gone down in this region about 13%. And I think has, not so much to do about our immigrant population or anything. It's just, we cannot continue to pit groups of people against each other and think that everyone's an enemy because we don't look like each other, right? And we're not a monolithic society. So, this state of militarization, police state, we're not going to tolerate it here in Arlington. I'm not going to tolerate it. And that's all I'm going to say on that. To Paula and the entire team from Aspire, thank you for being here this morning. I see many of my good friends, some that I've met over the years, from Tony and so many others. Claudia Ramirez is back there. Thank you for Claudia. I see your husband's with you as well. Look, we've received the emails. Paula, thank you for the invite to come over and spend some time there. I plan to do that. I will do that. And I know that my colleagues and I here on the board, we're always looking at ways to help organizations like Aspire, all right? And because there are so many organizations right now in Arlington that are really being affected by what's going on across the river. And so we're going to have your back to the extent we can collectively. Next, I will say to, I think a gentleman by the name of Noah, you're here. Thank you. Welcome to Arlington. Thank you for being here. Welcome to Arlington. But I'll also tell you that I disagree with where you're at, okay? And it's okay, but women's rights are human rights. And I'm one who wholeheartedly believes in that. And though you have the right to make I think it's important in this space that people know where I stand and where I draw the line in the sand, okay? But thank you for being here today. Mr. Hashim, Mr. Woot, you've been here a couple times. I've only been on the board 165 days, but I'll tell you what, I'm the Arlington County Board Liaison to Arlington Economic Development. And to what our county manager just stated, our individuals in that professional space, I think, are of the utmost character. I've been to several meetings, and let me tell you this, I am willing, we haven't met yet, but what I'm going to do here is extend an invite for you and I to meet. All right, we can make something happen. We can sit down and have a conversation about what you're seeing, what you're experiencing, because again, it's your right to come and talk, but as the county board's liaison to AED, what you're stating really kind of, let's have a conversation. And I'm willing to do that with you and the entire team. So let's make that happen. You can speak with the clerk going out. Let's make something happen, okay? I think that is about it. I will say that today is it's just a day. And many of you know I've served in the Marine Corps. I used to be a federal investigator. I had all these credentials. And what's going on and what my colleague Susan Cunningham just stated about what happened in Minnesota last night is alarming. And if you're not knowing that we're talking about lawmakers possibly have been shot, right? Local level. And I've always said that Arlington is not immune from the societal ills that are going on in our nation. But we have to be ever so vigilant. We have to be deliberate in our actions. And I want to commend you to our county board chair. Look, people have a right to come here and speak. We do have a one-topic rule, but I think the chair has exercised great temperament in his time being here to allow folks to speak. And look, we want everyone to be heard. Before I got here, that one person per topic rule really got the best of me. I was like, two people can come and talk on the same subject and have two different perspectives. I get it, right? So we have open door money to what our chair said. We have other means to have a conversation. Let's do that to the best of our ability. And not forget that who we are. We are one Arlington. We are better than what's going on in many places across America. And let's not fall victim to this ideology or perspective that, again, if you don't agree with someone, they're your enemy. We're not going down that road. So with that, I'll yield back. I thank my colleague, Maureen Coffey. Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back over to you. Excuse me, I don't want to go outside of my line. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Spain.
Oh, and I do stand with my friends and my family and friends with the LGBTQ community. Make no mistake about that, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Spain. Ms. Coffey.
Yeah, thank you. I'll start a little bit where Mr. Spain left off, which is I think this is a really anxiety-ridden time. Like I have never felt more conscious on a day-to-day basis of what just seems like an ever-present powder keg of tension and anxiety, both locally, nationally, internationally. I think, things like what happened in Minnesota last night, things like what has happened in LA to California's Senator Ruben Gallego, it makes it very, we're very aware, I think, of some of the pressures that are unique of this moment, and the risks and things that we have chosen to take on by being up here and choosing to put ourselves in this place. And I think that permeates every interaction, that permeates everything that is going to happen today. Nothing is without context. And so I do appreciate that everyone is here today. And I also appreciate that there are a lot of levels of government that we are not in control of. My New Year's remarks really focused on controlling the controllables, what is within our power, what is within our power as a board, what is within our power as individuals. And so I think a number of these topics are a little bit bigger than what we are able to really take on and solve. I'm not saying we don't have pieces of things, but in terms of macro solutions, this board is a very small piece of what is currently happening in our political climate today. I think on healthcare, one thing I would really highlight is our Destination 2027 project, which is really very focused on health inequity by geography and social factors that go into healthcare. And kind of leading from that, our comprehensive plan review that is ongoing and that there is engagement for. One of the things that we're trying to do is integrate more of that holistic health and wellness mentality into how we think about our comprehensive plan. The comp plan can be very wonky and land use, sewer, wastewater management oriented, but all of those things go into our health and wellness as a community. And so I encourage everyone to engage in that process, make sure that your comments are known. On abortion rights, I think, I was fortunate this week to be at an event with Hadley Duvall, who she's told her story very, very publicly. She was sexually abused and raped at 12 years old, resulting in a pregnancy. And she lived in Kentucky at the time and was able to have options available to her. And while that may seem like an extreme example, I will say that multiple people close to me in my life have had to seek abortion care as a result of rape. And the idea that we would take the agency away from people who have already had agency taken away from them and taken away from their bodies is not acceptable to me. And we know that right now women across this country are dying because of the lack of access to abortion care that has been restricted by lawmakers. I am grateful to live in Virginia, where we are the last place in the South that still has a protected right to abortion care. And I will continue to fight to protect that right. There will be hopefully a constitutional amendment next year codifying in Virginia's constitution the right to bodily autonomy. And I hope that everyone in this room will be aware of that and make sure that you contact your lawmakers in support and vote in support, because in Virginia, to do a constitutional amendment, you have to do a ballot referendum. And so it will literally be on the ballot, hopefully next year. On the LGBTQ community, I know that was a little bit of intersectionality to get at a different issue, but I do think it's really important. Last month, we passed a resolution stating very firmly this board's position on supporting the LGBTQ community. There's a lot of actions that I think are going to come from that. And I also just want to highlight that we have an advisory committee that has public meetings on the LGBTQ policies in support of this county. And so I just invite you to participate if you're interested. There's a lot of local government is kind of slow sometimes, but it is really important. And things like public health, especially in the wake of what is happening with the CDC and HHS, taking local control of some of these issues is going to be pretty critically important. So I just encourage everyone to get involved. On planning and the Pentagon City Sector Plan, I think, special GLUPs are intended for places that do not have existing planning guidance that is applicable to the sites. That is, I think, not the case, given that the sector plan very particularly describes what is, desired at the River House site. I think it could be a matter of opinion whether you believe that sector plan is specific enough to guide the development of River House. And I know that there are ongoing meetings. I think there's at least 2 more SPRC meetings coming up. And so we encourage you to continue to engage with the planners, with the Planning Commission, and we are in regular contact with both the staff and commission. And so hopefully more and more of these issues are going to get sorted out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Coffey. I see no other comments on that. Thank you, everybody. I will move now. Let me see. It is 10:58. I will move now to our consent agenda. Mr. Kushner, do we have any items pulled from the agenda, from the consent agenda?
Yes, one item has been removed, item number 5, which is regarding the 1401 Wilson Boulevard site plan and 1401 Wilson Boulevard and 1400 Key Boulevard. The first part is the site plan amendment extending the term of validity for that site plan located at 1401 and 1400. And the second part is the ordinance to amend and reenact an ordinance of encroachment to permit various encroachments related.
Yeah. Mr. Kushner, I will ask you to speak into the microphone more clearly, because I believe that.
My apologies.
That's okay, but we have understood what is pulled. Is item number 1401 Wilson Boulevard site plan, number 429. That is the address of that is 1401 Wilson and 1400 Key Boulevard. So, colleagues, I will move to that the county board adopts the county manager's recommendations for items on the consent agenda, excluding the pulled item number 5. Is there a second?
Joyful second.
The Vice Chair DeFerranti joyfully seconded that. Are all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So for clarity, we will hold a public hearing on anything that's pulled from the consent agenda. So item number 5 at our recess board meeting on Wednesday, June 18th. Next week, the public hearing will begin no earlier than 6 p.m. And I understand that we have a regular item before we discuss item number 5. So if you want to speak in one or more of the items that have been pulled from the consent agenda, you can register on the county board's website starting today, or call our office at 703-228-3130 on Monday. I will make some remarks. I will try to be as brief as possible. Mr. Kushner, if we can pull up the slides we have for the items that are on the consent agenda. We just voted to approve the consent agenda, which includes minor site plans amendments, use permit requests, ordinance amendments, requests to advertise, and more. These items are put on the consent agenda because they are thought to be non-controversial, but that doesn't mean that they are not important. So I want to take a few minutes to briefly highlight several items. And these are, next slide, So items 1A and B, Village at Shirlington, streetscape improvements. We approved a minor site plan amendment and a phase development site plan amendment. And in addition, we approved to vacate the portions of county right-of-way on Campbell Avenue and South Randolph Street and South Quincy Street for public sidewalks and utilities, and for purposes that are associated with its site that will experience enormous improvement. We have been working on this. It's a culmination, really, of at least 4 years of intensive stakeholder work, and I can't thank enough both Federal Properties and Eddie Wilson, who was here, who's the Civic Association president, and the county manager, and our staff for bringing everybody together and finding practical and practicable solutions that will make this part of Arlington, this core of Shirlington, an even better and more walkable and enjoyable place than it is today. So thank you indeed about that. Next slide, please. Use permits for Barcroft Apartments. So the transformation of Barcroft Apartments, our biggest affordable housing investment as of recently, is progressing according to our plan and according to our commitments to the community. This is the 5th and 6th time since 2023 that we take on preservation and renovation permits that are sought for the Barcroft campus. Briefly, item 19 allows for renovations for to 224 units. And I mean, they cannot be seen very well here, but they are. There is a lot of these sections will experience also a significant conversion to family size units, so to 2 bedrooms and greater. This is possible there. This will make us to lose 1 affordable unit, but we will gain all these additional bedrooms, which is important for families. Item 20 allows for 307 renovations in a different section of the campus. Next slide, please. This is another one that is that doesn't come very often, the historic district designation of the Brennan House, which is, we followed the recommendation of the Historical Affairs and Landmark Review Board, which designates the Brennan House on 2002 North Stafford Street as a local historic district. The Brennan House is a craftsman dwelling with a bungalow form, and it's in the Cherrydale neighborhood, so it has been very well preserved and serves as an extant example of one of our most prolific building forms used for residential architecture in Cherrydale in the early 20th century, so the 1930s and even and around that time. The preservation of the Brennan House will not only help to define the early 20th century architectural heritage of Arlington, but it provides us also with insight to the county's development history. The next slide is item 28. This is a hopefully very practical amendment of Chapter 17 of Arlington County Code. This adds Thomas Jefferson Park to the list of county parks where alcoholic beverages are permitted to be served and consumed during permitted special events. And the special event that we are thinking all of is what comes in August and is the Arlington County Fair in this case. So this will make the operation of the fair way smoother. It will burden the adjacent communities way less. So I think this is we did something here that will be helpful to all stakeholders around the fair. Next slide, please. Item 34, Neighborhood Complete Streets Capital Projects. The board approved $1.5 million of funding with a Neighborhood Complete Streets program to advance the design and construction of 2 capital projects. One is the block, is one entire block of missing sidewalk with accessible curb ramps and curb gutter on 8th Road North. That is between North Kensington Street and North Jefferson Street. That's in the Bluemont neighborhood. And the other is 2 new curb extensions, accessible curb ramps and curb and gutter, and 2 improved pedestrian crossings on the intersection of South Dinwiddie Street and 22nd Street South in the Claremont neighborhood. I cannot stress I cannot say strong enough how important these projects are, and how big of an improvement they represent. But I want to also everybody to see how much they cost. Actually, this is not easy to retrofit places that haven't had curbs, gutters, sidewalks, etc. It is really difficult, and I applaud everybody who works on with neighborhood complete streets to get us so far. Next slide is item 40. This is a first responder wellness grant acceptance. So as you know, the board has to accept grants if they come from outside Arlington, in this case from the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice. It's just $30,000, but I mention that because it improves the capabilities of the county public safety peer support teams. This is funding that will provide staff with specialized training in the acute stress adaptive protocol. So after critical incidents, it's a new type of debriefing that takes into account the enormous stress that first responders are sometimes subjected when they respond to critical events and high demand and very stressful events, like, for example, last January 29th with horrible accident of the National Airport. Next is item 52, an AHEF loan, an affordable housing investment funding loan for Barcroft's apartment renovations. These are $7.7 million in affordable housing to facilitate the renovation of 73 units that are located on 1320 South George Mason Drive. For those who know the neighborhood, is about the corner with 13 Road, I think. Anyway, across from Doctor's Run Park. They will be affordable for 99 years, less the time elapsed since the original convent in 2021, so for 95 years. No, yes. There will be 9 units affordable at 30% AMI, which is at 12% of the total committed affordable units, and the affordability of the remaining is averaged at 60%, the area median income. Next is a long list. Next slide, please. Is a long list of the requests to advertise. We always want to advise and alert the public for requests to advertise. These are items that will come before the board in future board meetings, most of them on the July meeting. And now it's the time to provide public input in advance of this hearing. So item 46 is an Arlington it's a Arlington County Zoning Ordinance New Phase Development Use Permit. It addresses changes to the Columbia Pike Commercial Form-Based Code. Item 47 is about signage. It adds additional flexibility for certain sign types and other edits for clarity organization. This is this is a series of amendments to make our signage ordinance more workable under the current more challenging economic conditions. And we are already hearing a lot of, we are receiving input on this. Item 48 are corrections to the adopted fiscal year 2026 CPHD fee schedule. These are editorial, typographical, and other clarifying corrections. This is kind of a housekeeping item. Item 49, if you can advance the slide. Item 49 is a change that was needed to figure out ways to permit properly public buildings that are constructed above pipe segments of public sanitary and storm sewers that are deeper than 60 feet deep. This is a highly technical item, but it's important to regulate so that we can see a smoother process of permits on this. Item 50 is a very important, 50 and 51. These are ordinances to lower the speed limit, in the case of 50, lower the speed limit to 20 miles per hour on streets in business or residence districts where an existing posted speed limit is 25 25 miles per hour, and that the county manager has designated as a bicycle boulevard. This says basically that we have bicycle boulevards, we have streets that where bicycles and cars actually share the street, and these streets are now they are currently 25 miles an hour. So when we designate them as bicycle boulevards, which is a classification of the use of the street, then the speed limit we will be able to lower the speed limit to 20, which is the equivalent of a slow zone like we have them around schools. And item 51 reduces the speed limit on the following 5 corridors from 30 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour. And I will start with number 3 here, which is South Carolina Springs Road from Arlington Boulevard to Arlington County Line, which effectively finally makes the entire South and North Carolina Springs one street, one speed limit, and the lowest possible, which is 25 miles per hour. Fairfax Drive from Little Falls to Langston Boulevard, Washington Boulevard from Kirkwood to North Glebe, South Arlington Mill Drive from South Wall to Reed to Shirlington Road. This is through our more industrial segment there, and South 4 Mile Run Drive from Columbia Pike. I just said that. From South 4 Mile Run Drive to Columbia Pike and to Shirlington Road. So these are the. This is all. These are all of my remarks on the consent agenda items. Colleagues, if there is anything that you would like to add a comment on, be my guest. Otherwise, we will ask the county board clerk if there is any other item, other issue coming from the board.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'll the vice chair. Okay, I'll be brief because. It just need to be brief. First, I want to thank you. If we can put item 1AB up again, Mason. I know we already discussed it, Mr. Chair, but I just,
yes.
It's on the consent. I am, again, like all of us, I think this is a great project. I do want to commend, when there's folks out there in our community that are doing great work for extended period of times. And again, I've only been here 16 years, but there's folks like the president of Shirlington Civic Association, Ms. Edie Wilson, who decided, I know she had to step out, but she's been following this project as well. Yeah, I know. I saw her come back in. I actually summoned her to come back. But one, I think this is a really good project. I spent a lot of time in the Shirlington area. But make no mistake about it, there's still work that needs to get done on this project. I think there are some concerns as it relates to, our parking management and the metro access down the road and some of the signage and wayfinding. But all in all, I think this is a great concept. And Shirlington is like one of those premier destinations here in Arlington that everyone should frequent in time. So thank you to the staff. Thank you, County Manager, and everyone for doing that. That's on that. And on item 28, the TJ Park, which is right there, around the Arlington Heights, Penrose area. I'm so thankful that we're moving forward on this. I think most of us have gone to the fair and, bringing the permission to sell beverages there, kind of like is really going to help out. This is something that I know the Arlington Heights Civic Association has got behind, and I'm glad we're moving forward in that direction. And lastly, item 34, the Neighborhood Complete Streets Commission, where I serve as the liaison to. I was at their last meeting, and I just want to thank them for their hard work to get these 2 projects out of the door. We have a project going on, as you see, up on the north side and the south side. And when we come to the recess meeting on Wednesday, I will have more to say about Elisa Ortiz, who is going to be moving on after an extended period of time as chair. But there's a lot of good work that goes here. There's a lot of phenomenal projects. I think in the queue, it is limited in how much money we can spend, but this is where the rubber meets the road. So I also encourage folks to come out and attend these types of meetings, because this is where I say the sausage is made, right? Some of these commissions. So thank you very much for your time, Mr. Chair, to give a few comments.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham.
Yeah, I will add my celebration of Shirlington crossing this milestone. I know it's been a couple of years of really hard work. And as we mentioned earlier, it's hard because it's very interdisciplinary and we're retrofitting environments that weren't made for current fire code. So really appreciate the persistence. And I know that each of our permitting and sort of planning processes can feel really long when you're in the middle of them. But when we get through them well, then they serve as an easy button for the next project. So all of Arlington can be grateful for the work you all have done there to balance fire code. And two other things just to highlight. Also want to add my celebration to the Carlin Springs Road change. That is a direct outgrowth of the work we've all been doing on Carlin Springs to make our school children safer, both intersection improvements and most crucially, the speed cameras. Because if you remember when we talked about this last year, we could not drop the speed limit yet because people were going too fast, which is counterintuitive, but on a 4-lane road, it means people will rear end each other and make it less safe. So I am so thrilled that has come through. And then finally, just highlighting number 47, the sign ordinance changes that we'll be talking about. That is an additional element of our CRMI work, which is working to get some of the rules clarified and simplified so that we can move faster and our businesses can thrive better. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? None? For the benefit of Ms. Wilson, who escaped the room when I mentioned her, we haven't forgotten about the pedestrian passage over 395. It's just not part of this specific thing. But that, more to come. Thank you.
Talk to my Green Valley neighbors.
Okay. So that's good. Thank you. Any other item coming before the board?
There are no additional items.
Thank you. Then without
Mr. Chair.
objection. Yes.
Before you hit the gavel, I just want to thank each and every one of you, to my colleagues on the board, and I just want all of you to be safe as you move out today, because I know all of us have been asked to be in a lot of different areas. So be vigilant, be focused, and I hope to see you back here in a few days. And thank you to our law enforcement officials who are with us today to keep us safe. So, Mr. Chair, be safe and make sure you're back here next week, okay?
Yes.
All right.
And Mr. Chair, if I may add one other thing, our elections, our primary is on Tuesday. So early voting is open today. That's the last day. And then all of your polling places will be open on Tuesday.
The last day of early voting, election day is on Tuesday. So any other? Yes, stay safe out there. Download Arlington Alert. It is very, very useful. And with that, colleagues, without objections, we're recessed.